In medieval cities, La Cour des Miracles was where all the criminals, the cripples, and the beggars congregated. And it got its name because the beggars' disabilities miraculously disappeared as soon as they re-entered this lair. The contemporary equivalent of La Cour des Miracles is the freak show. There were several aspects of this idea of a cybernetic Cour des Miracles that appealed to us. The notions of the make-believe, multiplicity, pullulation, and the potential for working on the chaotic movements of many elements. The dysfunction of the marginal and the abnormal, and duplicity also. In our earlier installations, Espace Vectoriel and the Frenchman Lake, each robotic entity was identical. There was an implicit link between the animated objects and a possible overall view that allowed for the emergence of a pattern and a meaning. La Cour des Miracles is a more intimidating, oppressive environment. In this project, we focus on the diversity of individuals and on deviant behaviors. Our machines have been deliberately built to create an impression of dysfunctional creatures. In creating La Cour des Miracles, we made use of the construction to suggest the idea of dysfunction. The sudden movements, squeaking joints, and damaged surfaces transform a metal shape into an abnormal being. One machine seems unstable, another, trapped inside a cage, flings itself at the bars, grabs and shakes them. Another crawls on the ground, retreating if anyone approaches. Yet another staggers along unevenly because of a mishappen or a defective part. Creating the illusion of dysfunction using functional machines operates at two different levels to underline the paradox of artificial life. It is based on the hyperreal and engages the viewer into an abstract world. Even when observing very simple actions or behaviors, the viewer may get the impression of an intelligent reaction. The main aesthetic choice of our installations is the evocation of life through simplistic machines that are barely anthropomorphic depictions of living beings. Our aim is not to create life, but rather an illusion of it. We make no attempt to give our machines humanoid forms. La Cour des Miracles uses the principle of evocation rather than the one of representation. The aesthetic of the animated object resides in the nature of the simulacrum, a subjective illusion based principally on the movement of abstract metal forms. We present the machine not as a specialized and virtuose robot, but as an element in an expressive and dramatic collective entity. In this space, we use anything that can help to create the illusion. Lighting, noise, smoke, all contribute to create the environment. We work on this backdrop the same way we work on the machines. We're not trying to recreate a real Cour des Miracles, but a space that simulates the hypothetical habitat for the robots. Sound contributes towards the illusion in several ways. Disturbing noises are registered and perceived as manifestation of suffering. Each robot emits a specific sound depending on its reading of the situation. The oppressive staging of the installation, sound levels, violent lighting, and metallic structures is designed to provoke the viewer's imagination and create a feeling of anxiety. Each robot is endowed at the outset with its own scenario of predetermined actions that is independent of variations in the immediate environment. However, this determinism will be constantly altered because of changes perceived by the sensorial system that links the robot to the environment. Each machine reacts in its own way to the presence of humans and to the other robot organisms. Our goal is to obtain behaviors that are not foreseeable, as opposed to deterministic scenarios of classical interaction. In fact, once a series of rules have been programmed into the machine, the robot organism manipulates information autonomously and engages in behaviors that are distinct from the original programming. These induced behaviors are difficult to predict because they depend on a general interpretation of an exponential number of possibilities. It's the introduction of complexity, chance, and unpredictability. The mode of communication that is established between the system and the viewer, who is trying to decode the reactive mechanism, is similar to the unstable relation that can exist between living beings. The exchange embodies an element of uncertainty regarding the robot's subsequent behavior. The spark of life is triggered first by the movement, but the illusion is maintained by the perceived comportment. The movement can be seen as the machine's objective nature, while the perception of behavior is more subjective. The aim of our project is to trigger empathy in the viewer for these characters, which are actually nothing more than articulated metal structures. We're trying to demonstrate the power of simulation by perverting the viewer's perception of these strange animated objects, using the inevitable anthropomorphic reflex that makes us project our personal feelings onto any being with which we interact. By suspending disbelief, viewers accept the simulacrum as natural. They agree to play the game, to enter the environment, and become part of the action in this artificial world. La Cour des Miracles is an attempt to express the humanity of the machine world and the profound machinism of humanity.